Low water level prevents passengers boarding in the proper way, so Arcturus and the booked passengers moved to the nearby lock number 54. This workboat has been installing concrete piles for bank protection. Boat owner Brian is starting the return of Arcturus to Guildford by taking a party for a one-way trip to the Watford area. A distant view of St John's Church at Bourne End. A swing bridge takes a lane across the canal beside the Three Horseshoes at Winkwell. It's operated by boat crew. So far, at the west side of the main railway, the canal turns to pass under it. We meet a pair of working narrowboats carrying a cargo in casks. The unpowered towed second boat is known as a butty. Below Lock 62, we pass another pair with more casks. Finally, an unusual combination of a motorboat with an unpowered dayboat, one with no cabin. At this point, the canal is only 200 yards from Berkhamsted railway station. The River Gade enters the canal. The wharf of a firm which received goods by boat up to the time of this being filmed. The site is now a B&Q's car park. After passing the former Dickinson's paper mills at Apsley, we have a distant view of Abbots Hill House, John Dickinson's home, now a school. After only 3 miles, we pass back to the west side of the railway. King's Langley we pass the rear of the Ovaltine factory. The main building has since been converted to housing. This view is now dominated by the viaduct of the M25 motorway. The isolated Lock 71. South of here, the main rail line turns away from the canal. Lock 72 at Hunton Bridge. About a mile on, the canal has entered the grounds of the Grove, a former stately home, now a hotel. We glimpse the ornate bridge of its long drive. Strange to see a sailing dinghy on the Grand Union Canal. We are now entering Watford's main public park, formerly the grounds of another stately home which was demolished. Bridge 167, just below Lock 77, is often lined with gongoozlers, the working boatman's name for spectators. Beyond Lock 78, Cassio Bridge Lock, a Metropolitan line train crosses the canal on the Watford branch. Most of the passengers disembark in Lock 78. This derelict factory had used canal transport. It's since been demolished and replaced by houses. Passing beneath the Metropolitan line between Moor Park and Rickmansworth stations brings us to Lot Mead Lock, number 80. Batchworth Lock, number 81. That's the Rickmansworth arm, which ran for a few hundred yards to the gasworks. Probably a flooded gravel pit. Watercress growing, we think. We are now in the valley of the River Colne. Maple Lodge Sewage Works had its own dock, with a towpath bridge over the entrance. It's the start of a short navigable stream. A London country route master crosses the bridge as we look back to Black Jack's Lock. This little marina has been made from an old gravel pit. The viaduct of the Marylebone to Banbury line. Denham Deep Lock, deepest on the whole Grand Union, lowers us 11 feet. The remaining passengers disembark, and Alan has a short walk to Uxbridge station. Filming resumed next morning 6 miles on, approaching Bull's Bridge, junction of the Paddington Arm, opposite British Waterways Maintenance Depot. Today that has gone, replaced by a small industrial estate and a large supermarket. Unfortunately, Alan didn't film the first of these, Lock 90, But on the way to the next, they encountered this tiny tractor towing a large barge from the Thames. Beyond Lock 91 lies an unusual combination: a road bridge over the canal directly above a railway bridge under the canal. The locals call it the Three Bridges. This Lock 92 is the top of Hanwell Flight of 6 locks close together. These locks are uncommon in that they have British Waterways staff to operate them, although they're always glad of help by boat crews. Hanwell Flight has side ponds to economise on water use. The water from the top half of a lockful can be stored to be used first next time the lock is filled. Just below the bottom lock, the River Brent joins the canal. We pass under the M4 motorway, followed by the bridge of the Piccadilly line, later to be extended to Heathrow Airport. More tractor-towed barges at Lock 99. The bridge below the A4, the Great West Road, is closely followed by one for the Hounslow Loop railway line. Beyond is Brentford Wide, where cargoes were transferred to and from narrowboats journeying to the Midlands. Lock 100 is mechanised and duplicated. It seems the track was being removed from this part of the Brentford branch railway. How long since that had wheels and carried passengers? Thames Lock only operates for about 2 hours either side of high tide in the nearby Thames. So now we leave the canal and enter tidal water. The tug is by the entrance to Brentford Dock, now a marina. The Great Western's wharf and warehouse have now been replaced by houses. This little ship seems to have come from the Netherlands. We're passing Zion House. On the opposite bank is Kew Gardens. All Saints' Church, Isleworth. Richmond Lock and Weir, which maintain a navigable depth of water beyond here around low tide time. When the weir is removed, boats can pass without using the lock. Beyond are Twickenham Road Bridge, then Richmond Railway Bridge, Corporation Island, then Richmond Road Bridge. On the hilltop is the Star and Garter home for severely disabled ex-servicemen. 2 miles on we come to Teddington Lock, the end of tidal water. This is where the administration passes from the Port of London Authority to the Thames Conservancy, although since 1999 that's now the Environment Agency. A mile and a half from Teddington Lock we come to Kingston, where the former power station has long gone. A small corner of Hampton Court Palace and Hampton Court Bridge beyond the pier and its trip boats. Thames Conservancy's depot on Wheatley's 8 at Sunbury. Walton Bridge. This, the fourth bridge here, was built in 1953. It's been replaced since 1999 by a more elegant structure. Ahead is Shepperton Lock, but Arcturus turns left, heading for the River Wey Navigation, which is in the care of the National Trust. For boats drawing more than 18 inches, it's necessary to close this floodgate to allow the water level to rise, allowing the first lock to be reached. This route is a combination of river and artificial cut sections. The remainder of this day's journey was on one of the latter. Alan must have been running short of film. Much has been left out. The tall buildings are Cox's Lock Mill. The train is on the Chertsey line. As daylight fades, Arcturus arrives at Newhaw Lock. Alan and his friend disembark to walk the half-mile to Byfleet and Newhaw station. As Alan was unable to rejoin Arcturus next day, most of the remainder of the Wey Navigation to Guildford was filmed on a later public trip. Filming restarts about 6 miles on, not far from the village of Send. Built-up areas have developed well back from the river. Maybe the area has a history of flooding. Triggs Lock. Paddles on the locks of the Wey Navigation are not low geared, so a long-handled windlass helps. Much of this open land belongs to Sutton Place, former home of multimillionaire Paul Getty. Ahead, Guildford Cathedral is on the skyline. Stoke Lock, near part of Stoke Park. Woking Road has a rather low bridge. The viaduct of the outer suburban line via Effingham Junction. Gap Dune Wharf, where once barges were built, is now the National Trust's headquarters for the Wey Navigation. A closer view of Guildford Cathedral. These old buildings with their hand-operated crane have long gone. This is Millmead, from where Arcturus started and ended her trips. Shame about that large puddle. The passengers having disembarked, Arcturus goes to turn in the side stream between Debenhams and the Yvonne Arnaud Theatre.